What's crappin'? Stop yapping and build some shit. I am Cordell Rufus III. Today we are going to go over all the crazy shit you got to put into the rotating assembly in the bottom end of a 2JZ to be able to have the potential to make up to 1,500 horse. So this is a gigantic box of crap from Real Street Performance. And basically I wanted the bottom end built to withstand about 1,500 horse just so I would never have to worry about it. Which is obviously not, you know, in the budget for a lot of people, but for me, with what we were going to end up doing with this thing, beating the shit out of it in the half mile, I didn't want to have to worry about anything kind of coming apart on us. So I decided to go the extra mile and just snowball down the block, basically. So I ended up, you know, buying, I needed the super strong pistons, and then it was like, oh, well, if I'm going to get these pistons, I might as well get these rods. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to get these rods, there's no point in having these rods if the main caps are going to blow off at this much horsepower. And, you know, it just kind of snowballed from there. I'm sure most of you guys can relate. But let's get into this shit. So, we'll go through the stupid stuff first. Obviously, I got the Gates timing belt. We got the ACL race bearings. These are the, I believe these are the coated ACL bearings, but these are just basically what Real Street, Nick at Real Street has been helping me out a ton. He's a build advisor, and he's just been kind of putting me on the track of all the stuff that they use. What's an amazing resource to have, these are the thrust washers, it looks like, is, you know, Real Street obviously puts their money where their mouth is, so they build so many of these things that, you know, they know what works and what doesn't work. So a lot of times when you're talking to a sales rep, they're exactly that. They're a sales rep. They make their money on selling you shit that you probably don't need. But that wasn't the impression that I got when I talked to Real Street and Nick in particular. And he basically was asking me what all I wanted to do, what I was planning on doing with the car. This is actually the Billet timing tensioner, which is obviously a must if you're going to go that much power and all that shit. Get a new Billet timing tensioner bracket. Real Street has them. And then also a brand new timing tensioner, Toyota OEM. And so, you know, they have all of the experience, and the R&D is already done for you. So they can tell you exactly what's going to work, what's not going to work, and they're not going to bullshit you, because ultimately they're going to have to stand behind the products and the stuff that they gave you. So so talk to them. They're super cool. Never once was I on the phone with them and I felt like they didn't want to talk to me. Not only because obviously I spent a shit ton of money there in the last couple of weeks, but you know, they've always been willing to help. So let's get into it. So first of all, obviously ARP hardware. And if you're gonna go 1,200 horse or somewhere around there, get the 625, which is what I got for the head bolts. So I got the 625. It's like their hardest bolts. They don't stretch. You will have to retorque these after a couple of heat cycles. So obviously ARP head studs. Then we got the other ARP fasteners for the rods. So and the main caps. Well, the rods come with ARP 2000s, I believe. But we also got main cap. ARP hardware for the billet mains that I got, which I'll show you in a second. Then I'm gonna see. I don't want to take out all the good shit right away. I want to build up to it. So I'm gonna try to pull a box out from the bottom of here. So a lot of people don't realize that most of the guys who run like crazy fucking horsepower numbers in these 2Js run the stock Toyota head gaskets. So this is a genuine OEM Toyota gasket kit for the entire 2JZ GTE engine. It's not cheap to buy an entire kit, but if you're going to pull the block all the way down, get it machined, all that stuff, you might as well buy the whole kit. You're going to need all this shit anyway, and then you don't have to try to source out not buying shit seals. Like, you know, a lot of people put on Amazon, these are Toyota OEM main seals and front seals and cam seals, and they're not. They're gonna fall apart, and it is a pain in the ass to change any of that stuff. So don't skimp out. Get the real Toyota shit, or go to the dealer and order the Toyota shit. A lot of these kits will tell you all of the part numbers that they have in the kits and what those part numbers are too, so you can write down the part numbers of all the stuff that you want, take that list, go to Toyota and order them all. For me, I just figured it'd be easier to get the whole kit because actually the Toyota OEM head gaskets separately were kind of hard to find. So we got the entire kit. This should have the head gasket, all that stuff in it, which we will use for our head gasket for this build. And we shouldn't have any issues with the head gasket at all. Let's see what's in here. And this should be the billet main caps. So Titan has a billet main cap, and this is one thing that I was told by my machinist and by Real Street as well. Titan's billet main caps can be a pain in the ass to machine. I'm not entirely sure why theirs are much more of a pain in the ass, but apparently Real Street has gone through and kind of finalized a more efficient design that makes the machining process a little less cumbersome and a lot easier to work with in the long run. So I'm just going to pull out one of these guys for you, but this is what the billet main caps look like. They are billet steel main caps. And they're even engraved with Real Street. We don't want none of that fake street bullshit. Fucking Real Street. The real one. Not the fake one. Fake news. Bullshit. America. Real Street. That's right. So we got all these billet main caps, and we're going to be using the ARP hardware. Obviously you can see which one takes the rust washer. These things should be fucking awesome, and they are heavy. So I'm super excited about that. Next, we have the Manley rods. So just like my Manley rod and some of your guys' Manley rods, I have 6 Manley rods in here, and then plus my own. That would be 7, but we're only going to use 6 on this build. These are the tri-beam Manley rods. These are the crazy, fucking gnarly, turbo, gigantic, crazy fucking rods, right? 6. So we have 6. That should work well for our V6. Our inline 6, sorry. And they're actually already labeled with the exact, I believe these are the weights on the boxes. So I think they weigh them on both ends and then write them on the boxes. So you can dial them in. So we have a number there and a number there. But I'm going to pull one of these out and put it right back in the same box because the guy who's doing the machining, I'm having Greg at Total Performance do all the machining on this. He would have more of an idea of the relevance of those numbers than I would. And these are the Manley tri-beam crazy rods. So these are not going to break. They are a bit heavy. You know, you are going to have some reciprocating mass. But, I mean, you're going to make a shit ton of power. So who cares, right? These things should never be an issue, especially now that we're running the tri-beams. It's important to realize that if you're going to run the tri-beam rods as opposed to like the, I think the H-beams or the Turbo Toughs or whatever they have, the tri-beam rods that I got are twice as much money. I believe they just use a different material and then obviously a more strong design that spreads load better, I would imagine. But I haven't really looked into it all that much. But so we got the Manley tri-beam rods. These things are going to be perfect for what we're doing. We should never have to worry about these breaking or throwing out of the side of the block unless we have some stupid catastrophic failure, which is most likely not going to happen. Don't jinx it. Where's wood? I need wood. Fuck, we're fucked. I couldn't find any wood. There's wood in here. So we're gonna run the Manley tri-beam rods. So now the moment you've all been waiting for. What the fuck pistons are you gonna use? Cordell Rufus? What piston did you use? And what compression ratio? What size? Diameter? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you guys. We're gonna use CPs. So these are, so I had a bit of a dilemma when it came to choosing the pistons, right? So I wanted to run the Wiseco. They have a 10.6 to 1 piston, which I wanted to run high compression since we're primarily going to be running E85, and I wanted the drivability aspect to be there, so I didn't want the base map or the base engine to be just dog shit down low to where it had no power. Especially with the longer gear ratios that we're putting in the car, because we're going to run a 315 rear end gear, because we're actually upgrading to the E32 750IL rear differential, which is a longer gear, and then on the R154 transmission, the fifth gear ratio I think is it's like 0.746 to 1 or something. Fourth gear is the 1-to-1 gear. So I wanted there to be a good amount of power. So what happened was we wanted to run the Manley tri-beam rods. Well, the Manley tri-beam rods are not compatible with the Wisecos, the higher compression ones, at least that's what I know. So we were going to have to go with the lower compression anyway, and the CPs were the next best choice. These are the CP HD. These things are fucking works of art. So these are the CP HD pistons. These things are the heavy duties. Forged pistons. They are 10 to 1 compression, and they have basically all the cool shit you could want with these. And from what I understand, these should work fine with our +1 millimeter oversized valves as well. So there should be a valve relief allowance enough in there to accommodate for clearance with the valves. I don't think there's going to be an interference issue anyway, but if there is, we should be clear and good to go. So we're going to be running 10 to 1 compression on this thing. We're obviously decking the head and the block, which will add a little bit to the compression, not a whole lot. I mean, we might be up to 10.2 to 1, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day. But we should be able to run a decently high compression with the E85, plus with the increased flow of the cylinder head and all the other good stuff. We shouldn't have any problems with detonation or running or any of that stuff. Even at 10 to 1 on 91 octane, we should be okay. But if we're going to hit boost, we're going to be limited to probably around 10 psi, I would imagine, on 91 octane before we start to pull so much timing. It makes no sense to risk the engine at that point. So that's why we're running the flex fuel sensor as well, because the engine will get, I want to be able to pickle the fuel system with 91 octane, but I also still want to be able to drive the car. So every once in a while we can run we can run 91 through the fuel system. So that's the idea anyway. So these pistons, as you can see, are going to be awesome. And we have the 2JZ GTE block, not the GE. So the GTE has piston oilers that go from underneath. These things are rad, man. Even the inside says CP. Oh, I will see you when I get on the throttle. Whoa, buddy. So these things actually have some oiling ports as well. So all the oil that goes up in here actually feeds through the oil ring. These do not have the gas ports. Some of the pistons have a gas port that actually puts some of the compression in through underneath in between the top ring and the secondary ring, and that actually helps the rings seal. It forces the top ring against the cylinder wall, which helps for seal, which obviously increases efficiency. When it comes to ring gapping these, we are going to run CP. We're going to run just the CP recommended ring gaps. So with a street application over 750 horse turboed, we are going to be running 20 thou, most likely a 20 thou ring gap on the top ring, and then there's a 4 thou addition on the secondary ring, so we're going to be running about 24 thousandths on the secondary ring. So that should be where our ring gaps are, but as of now, we're going to be running the CP pistons, the Manley tri-beams, the Billet main caps from Real Street, just a normal OEM head gasket, all of ARP hardware, and then obviously there's a lot of other goodies that are going on the bottom end. I have a Titan ported oil pump, all that good stuff, a brand new OEM water pump. We have the rear sump oil pans, all that stuff is brand new. But we can get to all of that when we start doing the actual assembly of the bottom end. So Greg at Total Performance is going to get all the machining done, get everything line bored and concentric, get all the bores dialed in. These CPs are 20 over, so we're going to go 10 thou per side, get all the bores dialed in super nice, get a good cross hatching on them, and then we'll actually, I'll be doing the assembly here. So we'll definitely, you guys will be here along for the ride when I do the final engine assembly. And that's basically it. That's what we're going to end up putting in the rotating assembly in the bottom end, and hopefully it should hold up. I mean, I don't see how it wouldn't with, you know, we're only going to be running about 1200 wheel, and honestly we're probably only going to be seeing that on the actual airstrip. The low end boost spectrum is probably going to be around 650, 700 when we're on the street. So we'll see how it all works out. I think it's going to be rad. I'm excited. Yeah! Build some shit!